Halloween is upon us. It is time to heat up the coffee, grab a slice of pumpkin pie, and sit down for a horror film. Here is a list of 31 horror films to watch each day leading up to Halloween. The Babadook tells the story of a struggling single mother who must confront her son's fear of a monster in the house. The film is extremely effective in its suspense and intensity, thanks largely to the acting of the cast, the monster design, and lore. Once you see the Babadook, you won't be able to get rid of it. The Entity tells a story inspired by true events, about a woman who is assaulted by an assailant whom she cannot see. Barbara Hershey gives a top-notch performance, making the character believable. The film is frightening and intense as we watch this poor woman endure these assaults and seek help in any form possible. It is an often overlooked horror gem that deserves your attention. Arguably the most influential haunting film of all time, and despite its age still manages to scare and entertain. Thanks to its engaging story, likable characters, and its imagination. Whether you have seen it or not, it is still a wise choice to revisit this horror classic. The Changeling tells the story of a professor staying in a long vacant mansion who begins to experience unexplained events. As we, the audience, along with our lead, become involved in a mystery. With each haunting clue, we are subjected to horrors that both chill to the core and leave us disturbed. The film is effective in building suspense and unleashing true fear. It will have you sleeping with a light on. The Exorcist is often described as one of the scariest films of all time. The film is effective thanks to its slow building of dread before it unleashes its pure hatred and torment on the characters and audience. It has never been outdone, though other films have tried. It is just as effective as it was when it was first released. The original Candyman combines social issues and horror effectively. The film's antagonist is terrifying and has an excellent backstory that is equally horrifying. The film relies on its narrative and its brutality to scare its viewers. Just be sure to check this one out and not its recent remake. Inspired by real horrifying events, The Nightmare on Elm Street remains a scary, fun time of a movie, thanks largely to its villain, Freddy Krueger. The film is a showcase of effective and imaginative death sequences that are both scary and gory. Enjoy a cup of coffee while you stay awake well past the film's end. There is no salvation to be found when you sleep. Crawl has a simple story of a family trapped beneath their house thanks to a hurricane and find themselves stalked by an alligator. While it's simple at heart, its suspense and thrills are effective and elevate this film to an intense, wild ride. You won't want to skip this creature feature. Wes Craven crafted a meta horror movie that is both intensely scary as it is fun. The film often pokes fun at itself and the genre, which tricks you into letting your guard down right before it scares you. It's a slasher film that stands on its own and helps breathe life into a tired formula. Hellraiser features an iconic villain, but be careful, the true villain of this film is not so simple. Hellraiser is a frightening story about the pursuit of pleasure. The film is effective in creating escalating dread and frightening, gory imagery. It's a horror film that refuses to rely on jump scares and instead focuses on its atmosphere and story, so to let the fear consume you. It Follows is a masterclass of creating fear from the unknown while mixing it with adolescent desire to have intercourse. The film focuses the viewer to conjure their own fear as they do not know what the entity is or when it may come, as the threat is ever prevalent. It's a scary roller coaster of a film that is just as fun to watch alone or with a group. The burning upon release did not generate interest or revenue, but the film is an enjoyable riff of Friday the 13th. The film features creative and disturbing death scenes and a villain just as good as Jason. While the film does not reinvent the genre, it is massively entertaining and is better than many of the Friday the 13th films. A group of women go on a caving expedition, but find out they may not be alone. The film is a claustrophobic nightmare that builds up suspense before all hell breaks loose into an intense, gory fight for survival. The film will make you think twice before ever entering a cave or underground dwelling. A mother brings her family back to live in the orphanage home she grew up in. Her son soon starts to communicate with an invisible friend. The director makes clever use of camera angles and the home's atmosphere to create some truly horrifying moments that boil with suspense. The film's story and ending are equally chilling and will not be soon forgotten after watching. This is not your average teenage cabin in the woods horror thrill. It is cleverly written and is full of dark humor. It may not be as scary as others on this list, but its uniqueness to the genre makes it stand out and a total blast to watch. This French horror film is not for the faint of heart, or even experienced horror fans. It will test your very limits of what you think you can see. If you are brave enough, you will endure a story that will keep you guessing, that is highly disturbing, with graphic imagery that invokes pain, sadness, and hatred. It is a horror film you will never forget. This film will not scare you, but it will make you laugh as you have fun with the gory, over-the-top nature. It's about a man who is experimenting with reanimation of dead tissue. It's a fun horror film that wants you to enjoy yourself with its antics. The Shining is a film about slowly losing your sanity. The horror largely works thanks to the incredible performances of the two leads and some uncanny sequences. While the film is longer than most of its genre, The Shining benefits from it to successfully sell the breakdown of sanity. Don't sleep on one of the best films based on a Stephen King novel. Inside tells the story of a pregnant woman home alone who must defend herself and her unborn child from an intruder. The film is intensely horrifying as it builds paranoia, confusion, and suspense through its relentless violence and hatred. This French film is bound to make you unsettled and double-checking the locks. A mystery film about a videotape that kills its viewers sounds like it could be a dud, but the film is able to create brooding dread as it builds to some truly scary sequences. Come for the horror, but stay for the gripping story. The Ring is the rare American remake that is just as effective, if not more so, than the original. A couple goes to the lake for a nice vacation, only to be harassed and attacked by a group of young teens. The film creates suspense and unease as you watch the couple navigate this no-win situation. It continues to boil before it unleashes pure brutality that will have you on the edge of your seat. Eden Lake is a horrifying thrill that you won't be able to shake. A young girl attending a summer camp where serial murders have begun. On the surface, this looks and sounds like a by-the-numbers slasher film. For the most part, it is. But it stands out due to its story and a few unforgettable scenes that will have you talking with your friends for weeks. One of the best of the found footage horror genre, we follow a reporter attached to a first responder unit who become locked inside in an apartment complex and become under assault from the living dead within. The film creates tension and fear through the use of POV and does so without too much shaky cam. As the film reveals the source of the terror, things are not as simple as they may seem, and the true horror is yet to be unleashed. Wreck is an intense zombie film with some uniqueness to it and one of the scarier ones. I still remember a time where I was waiting for the bus alone and seeing a ton of birds sitting along a power line near me. I struggled internally trying to fight back the dread and fear I was experiencing, because they are just birds, right? But I was so happy to get on that bus once it arrived. This should tell you all you need to know about the effect the film The Birds can have on you. After a man is hypnotized, he begins to see a ghost of a young woman. He finds himself trying to solve the mystery that is haunting him. Stir of Echoes is often creepy and has a compelling mystery that keeps you on edge. A true crime writer moves his family into the house of a grisly crime in order to conduct research for his book. Sinister is very effective in its jump scares, offering some of the best in the genre. They are also so effective thanks to the dread-inducing atmosphere of the film and the acting from the family. It has been called one of the scariest films of all time. Jacob's Ladder is one of the key influences that inspired the beloved horror video game series Silent Hill. Thanks to its unsettling images and sequences, the film is creepy and unnerving as we see the world through the eyes of a returning combat veteran suffering from PTSD. We experience his fear and madness together as we both try to figure out what is real and what is imaginative. The Conjuring takes note from Poltergeist, but ramps up the terror. It succeeds in creating characters that are both interesting and who you care for. When the film is not throwing fear at you, it has an imaginative feeling to it that is equally enjoyable. The Conjuring is one of the very best modern horror films. A woman finds herself locked in the London Underground overnight, and soon finds that something wanders the tracks. While the film takes a bit to get going, once it does, it never backs down, creating fear from the constant intensity and unknown factor. Creep is a better than it should be, but not as good as it could have been, but still an effective horror film. Rosemary's Baby is incredible in how it makes you feel helpless and paranoid, which creates a deep-seated fear within you that lasts for the vast majority of the runtime until its haunting final. It is not advised to watch this if you are pregnant or think you may be pregnant. There is no better way to celebrate Halloween than to watch John Carpenter's classic masterpiece, Halloween. To this day, it remains one of the most effective slasher films of all time, thanks to a stellar horror performance from Jamie Lee Curtis and a chilling villain, Michael Myers. The film blends suspense and thrills beautifully. There is a reason the film has endured the test of time and spawned sequels to this very day.